For years, I've been treating the Hulk like he's some kind of disease, something to get rid of. But then I start looking at him as the cure. 18 months in the gamma lab. I put the brains and the brawn together. And now look at me. Best of both worlds.
Excuse me, Mr. Hulk?
Yes.
Can we get a photo?
100%, little person. Come on, step on up. You mind?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Say green.
Green.
Green. Did you get that?
That's good. Do you want to grab one with me? I'm Ant-Man. They're Hulk fans.
Wait,
They don't know Ant-Man.
Oh, he
Nobody
feels bad.
does. Nobody does.
No, he wants you.
I
He
don't want a
wants to
picture.
take a picture with them.
Yeah, look, he's even saying no, he doesn't. I get
come
it.
on, the kid.
I don't want it
but,
either.
But you,
I don't want a picture with them.
but he's gonna feel bad.
Sorry.
They're happy to. They said
I
they'll
don't
do
want
it.
to. No, I don't want to.
No, you feel bad.
Thank you, Mr.
No,
Hulk.
it's great, kids. Thank you very much. Hulk out.
Hi everyone, it's Charlie. Marvel has released a couple clips of Hulk during Avengers Endgame, sort of explaining what's going on with his ending, how Professor Hulk works within the Marvel Cinematic Universe compared to comic book Professor Hulk, and what his future is going to be in the Marvel movies. Because while everyone's bummed out about Iron Man and Captain America not being the traditional version of Captain America anymore, Mark Ruffalo actually still has one Marvel movie left on his big contract that he signed a long time ago, meaning that we will definitely see Professor Hulk come back during Marvel Phase 4 in a big movie. So I'll explain what that's going to look like based on the Marvel movies that we know are already happening during Marvel Phase 4, and there was a really cool deleted Hulk Ancient Ones scene during Avengers Endgame that we just found out about that I'll break down. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the Marvel videos. There'll be crazy Easter eggs flying around this summer between Spider-Man Far From Home, the multiverse, what Mysterio is doing, then the big Comic-Con panel where we get the big Phase 4 schedule, and D23 later this year. I know there's a lot of questions if we're ever going to see World Breaker Hulk in any of the Marvel movies because Professor Hulk is sort of the more sensitive, chatty version of the Hulk, the brains of Banner in the body and the strength of the Hulk. There's just a couple other versions of the Hulk in the comics that are really notable that people are wondering if we're ever going to get a chance to see, so I will address that during the video too. But think about it this way, Mark Ruffalo signed a 6-picture deal. He did Avengers, Avengers Age of Ultron, Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, and now Avengers Endgame. That's 5 movies. Even though there's been cameos don't count towards the actors' films on their contract. First things first though, everybody's asking, is his arm going to be completely messed up for the rest of his life? Because the current day version of Thanos' arm was still messed up when we found him. They went to kill him on that new version of Titan that he created. So then does that mean that it's also going to be the same for Hulk going forward? Even though he's super smart, he could probably find a way to heal himself. For now, it does seem like his arm will be permanently damaged going forward, even though he was still able to fight with it like that during the big final battle. You see him here during that big Avengers Assemble moment with that big smile on his face, so even if it does really hurt, like his arm is probably permanently going to give him some pain, he only gets stronger the madder he gets, so his deformity in a way will give him a little bit of an edge, but that arm will always be weaker than his other arm. So yes, it will be a disability for him, but not quite as much for Thanos. Not so much that it'll be a really huge problem when he appears in future Marvel movies. But think about it this way, these are the Marvel Phase 4 movies that we know about so far, and where the Hulk would be able to show up again. We already know about Spider-Man Far From Home. It doesn't really seem like he's going to be in that movie, and even if he does have a secret cameo, like I said, the cameos don't count towards the films on their contract, so he still has one major starring role left. The next movie after that is going to be the Black Widow solo movie, which they're shooting right now. You've probably seen some of the behind-the-scenes pictures of that, but it's very clearly set in the past. She has her traditional red hair. She doesn't have the mixture of blonde and red that she had during Avengers Endgame. And Hulk even says when he's sending Captain America back, you know, man, I really tried. When I snapped everyone back, I tried to get Nat back, but the stones wouldn't let me do it. So that's just their way of saying that the current version of Black Widow that we've been living with this whole time, she is not coming back, but that doesn't mean that other alternate reality versions of Black Widow couldn't come back in future Marvel movies like Secret Wars. Then there's the Eternals movie after that, which is going to be set thousands of years in the past, so clearly Hulk isn't going to show up during that. Then there's the Shang-Chi movie. Can't really put Professor Hulk in that because why would you need a smart version of the Hulk in a Shang-Chi movie? He doesn't really fit there, peanut butter and jelly style like Thor Ragnarok. It's not going to be like a buddy comedy movie. The important thing to remember is that if he's going to be Professor Hulk forever going forward, then it would have to be a movie that would require a smart version of the Hulk. So if you have a whole bunch of other smart people already, you don't really need the Hulk. There's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as Guardians of the Galaxy as far as we know for now, but they already have Thor and Adam Warlock to introduce, so they're probably not going to have room for Professor Hulk to have a big role during that, which means that that won't count. There's the Captain Marvel sequel, but that also kind of seems like it's going to be set during the past after the events of the first Captain Marvel movie, just set later in her timeline, out in deep space. So at that point in history, Hulk would have not made it out into space yet, so there's no real point in putting him in that one either. That only leaves a couple other movies that we know about. There's the Doctor Strange sequel. Doesn't really seem like you need a smart version of the Hulk in that either, because supposedly the villain is going to be Nightmare, per the director's earlier comments after the first Doctor Strange movie.
I really like the character of Nightmare and the concept that the nightmare realm is a dimension. I always thought that was one of the, and that's early. That's like in the first Strange Tale. I think that's in the introductory episode of Doctor Strange, and I always loved that.
That's the director just talking a little bit about his ideas for the sequel. That doesn't mean the villain is confirmed to be Nightmare from the comics. It could be anybody because they have access to the X-Men Fantastic Four characters now. Really hoping they find a way to work Mephisto into the Doctor Strange movies at some point. But then you have Black Panther 2, and obviously it doesn't really make sense to put a smart version of the Hulk in that because you already have Shuri, who's supposedly even smarter than that. And Black Panther has enough technology to negate any benefits to having a really strong, smashy version of the Hulk. He already has a lot of tech that can replicate a lot of the strength of the Hulk, so you don't really need to bring him in. And I think they're trying to keep the Black Panther movies relatively self-contained to characters that work really well in that genre. But that only leaves Avengers 5 in a possible Young Avengers movie that Kevin Feige has hinted at. Like we have the stature version of Cassie Lang, teenage Cassie Lang at the end of Avengers Endgame. In pretty much all the movies that are set in present day now will take place after the events of Avengers Endgame. So that means it's year 2023. So when we get to the next Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, it will still be teenage Cassie Lang, unless they do some big surprise and do a movie set during the past, which I don't think is going to be the case. It just doesn't make that much sense. They haven't said when Avengers 5 is going to come out or if they're going to wait till Marvel Phase 5 to release that. They haven't specified when they might do a Young Avengers movie either, if that'd be later in Phase 4, but they do say that it's something that they're working on. Right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they waited about 3 years for the next Avengers movie, bare minimum 3 years, just to give a little space between the end of Avengers Endgame and clear the dust a little bit before we introduce that brand new roster of Avengers, with some of the old ones coming back, but also introducing a bunch of new ones. The really cool deleted scene with Hulk in the Ancient One that we learned about is because of a really big change they made in the script to the way time travel works and the way that she explains how the Infinity Stones affect the flow of time. So during that really cool scene where she phases him out of himself and you see the astral form of Banner coming out of Professor Hulk and they start talking about it, what it seems like happened in the original version of that scene that they had to later reshoot was that the Ancient One didn't specify how the Infinity Stones affect the flow of time, so she didn't make it seem like they would create alternate realities by not bringing them back. They needed a lot of that logic to sew up how you explain the version of Loki that gets away with the Tesseract, because that's still an alternate timeline that continues to exist after the end of Avengers Endgame, whereas Captain America takes all these stones back to where they got them from, so all these potential alternate realities get sewn up. Like he had to take the Soul Stone back to Vormir, so that he actually had to interact with the Red Skull, and even though so much history had passed between them, I would give almost anything to actually see that scene between the two of them when he took that back. But for those of you asking about him taking the Soul Stone back, wouldn't that also then reverse what happened to Black Widow and bring her back by consequence? The way the directors and the writers explain it, and they kind of disagree on a couple things, but they do agree that you can't get back the sacrificed Black Widow to the Soul Stone. They haven't completely explained the logic of it, only that it sticks. There's no way to bring her back, even though Captain America puts that Soul Stone back. Beyond that, Mark Ruffalo hasn't said anything about whether he wants to continue as the Hulk within the Marvel movies. He's one of the few actors that hasn't publicly said yes or no, so it's a bit of 50-50 as to whether or not he's going to continue being Bruce Banner after the events of his next Marvel movie. He hasn't done the Chris Hemsworth thing yet, where you see Chris Hemsworth going around doing all these interviews for other movies like Men in Black, talking about future Thor movies. Yes, I totally want to do future Thor movies. I would totally love to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, as if he's trying to be really funny, pretending like he has no idea whether or not he's going to be in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie, despite that Avengers Endgame post-credit scene with him joining the Guardians of the Galaxy. On the other side of that, he has not done the Chris Evans thing where he's made like he definitely wants to leave and stop playing the Hulk. So if for some reason he decides to not re-sign his contract after whatever next Avengers 5 movie that he does, what they'll probably do is, just because from a toy sales perspective, not even from a story perspective within the universe, Hulk sells a lot of toys. Little kids love Hulk. So of course they want to keep a version of the Hulk in the universe. They would probably introduce She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, or an Amadeus Cho version of the Hulk, so that you could still have a Hulk within the universe, even if it's not going to be Bruce Banner. But then for all of you wondering if we'd ever see a world breaker, crazy OP version of the Hulk, they could bring Mark Ruffalo back to do multiple different versions of the Hulk during a Secret Wars multiverse crossover movie. That's where you could bring back the chatty, more sensitive Professor Hulk version of Bruce Banner, but you could also do a separate reality version of World Breaker Hulk that's just completely off the chain. That'd be a really easy way to pay off another joke like you got when they went back to the events of the first Avengers movie during Endgame, and he's all embarrassed by the previous version of himself, like, oh, look at me smashing all that stuff. You also probably heard that news that Keanu Reeves wants to join the Marvel Universe and be in a Marvel movie as a big character. Now, he's said a couple different things. Separately, news sites have been reporting that Marvel is officially courting him for a role in a really soon upcoming Marvel movie. But that's supposed to be Eternals, which, like I said, is set during the past. So when people were asking him earlier separately whether or not he would ever want to be in a Marvel movie, he said, yeah, sure. He basically said that he wanted to be the new Wolverine. I would totally love to be Wolverine. But obviously, Kevin Feige said that they're not going to be doing that stuff right away. It's going to be a couple years before you start seeing X-Men pop up in the MCU films. And even though he doesn't look like he's that old, he's in his early 50s right now, and when they recast a new version of Wolverine, he'll probably be a much younger actor who can play the character for 10 plus years. The thing about the Eternals movie, though, is that even though it's set thousands of years in the past, the characters are literally eternal. They live almost forever. Thanos is an Eternal, that's why he's so long-lived too. He ages the same way that Thor ages, but he's a little bit older than Thor. So even though you might have Keanu Reeves showing up during this Eternals movie, whether or not he chooses to actually sign on for it, he could still be alive in present day and show up in future Marvel movies during present day, during a big Avengers crossover. But I love the idea of Keanu Reeves showing up in the Eternals movie with Angelina Jolie. No idea whether he would play a hero or a villain, but let me know in the comments, what's the next movie that you want to see them put Professor Hulk in the Marvel Universe during Phase 4? And who do you want Keanu Reeves to play in the Marvel Universe? We still got that Infinity Gauntlet giveaway going on. All you have to do to enter that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. I'll name a winner in my next big Marvel video. There'll be a lot of Spider-Man Far From Home trailers dropping in the next couple weeks because we're about a month away. So just look out for that. As long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you'll see all the videos when I post them. While you wait for everything, click here for that brand new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. Watch him make his own Spider-Man suit. And click here for all my Avengers Endgame Easter egg videos. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.